Trump speechwriter fired amid scrutiny of appearance with white nationalist. Before I begin this article, this is coming out of the Chicago Tribune, and it's by a Robert Costa. This is sort of and to necessarily be a real question, as if to ponder, I wonder. It's more like told you so kind of question. Look at the title here. Trump speechwriter fired amid scrutiny of appearance with white nationalists. Now look at how that sounds. Appearance with white nationalists. Who's surprised about this right here? Nobody really should be. He happened to get fired because he appeared with white nationalists. What about all the others who have friendships, ties with white nationalists? They just don't appear with them. Now, I'm just going to leave that out there. That's one week after revelations that he had spoken at a conference attended by a well-known white nationalist. Okay, so the White House speechwriter for President Donald Trump was terminated last week after revelations that he had spoken at a conference who were not authorized to speak publicly. So Darren Beatty, who was a visiting instructor at Duke University before he joined the White House speechwriting team, was fired Friday after a media inquiry about his appearance at the 2016 H.L. Mencken Club. So it was a conference where Beatty spoke on a panel alongside Peter Brimelow. So Brimelow is the founder of the anti-immigrant website called VDare.com, and it is a white nationalist, and he is regularly publishes works by white supremacists and anti-Semites and others on the radical right, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center, an advocacy group that tracks extremists. So earlier this year, Brimelow described himself as a believer in racial nationalism, who sees the future of the United States precipitating out on racial lines. So CNN's K-File, an investigative unit, published a report on Sunday on Beatty and his appearance at the Mencken event, which has been attended in the past, or he has attended this in the past by, and it's been attended by the white nationalist Richard Spencer as well. So Spencer is a prominent figure in the alt-right movement, whose adherents are now known as the espousing racist, sexist, and anti-Semitic points of view. And so once White House officials were informed about CNN's pending report, Beatty reportedly was confronted and urged to step down immediately. So he apparently refused to resign, arguing that he was not a racist, and haven't we all heard that one? I'm not a racist. And usually when people say that, or I'm not racist, or I'm not like those racists, it's the opposite. And they're basically telling on themselves. And it goes on to say that he said that he wasn't a racist and that he had made uncontroversial academic points at the Mencken gathering. So when it became clear that Beatty would not resign, the people familiar with the matter said the White House needed to terminate him. Okay. the White House did terminate him. So they don't want those names attached to any of the people who are in the White House. And so if you appear in pictures with these people as if you're allies or friends or courts, then it looks bad in the media eyes, or supposedly. Now, if he wasn't exposed and he didn't have any photos and he was, being secretive and he kept his identity concealed from the public, then he still could have kept his job. And so the reason I'm saying this is he's but one of many people that, if he's not in attendance to these meetings, he's a part of these groups, or he has friends in these groups, or they meet in private, or he helps with these organizations in an anonymous way. There are people that are doing that, I'm sure. I'm almost 100% positive. He just happened to get caught. And so once the White House officials were informed about CNN's pending report, Beatty reportedly was confronted and urged to step down immediately. Okay. So it said the White House had terminated him. So Beatty worked for Vince Haley, the head of the speech writing at the White House. And at times he worked on speech projects for Stephen Miller, Trump's top policy advisor, and the speechwriter the People added. So it was not clear Sunday whether President Donald Trump or Chief of Staff John Kelly were personally involved in Beatty's departure. So said in a statement to the Washington Post. Okay, so he didn't really notice that. They don't want to say very much because it's not like others are in agreement with these groups. They just haven't gotten, they hadn't done a stupid thing like take pictures with them to get exposed. So Beatty, when reached by phone on Sunday, declined to elaborate on his dismissal, but provided the Post with a statement. In 2016, I attended the Mencken conference in question and delivered a standalone academic talk titled The Intelligentsia and the Right. So I said nothing objectionable and stand by my remarks completely. So Beatty said in a statement, so he basically is pretty much admitting that he did attend a conference and he actually spoke there. And he has the title of what it was his talk was on. And so he says he stands completely behind his remarks. So he's not hiding who he is. So it was the honor of my life to serve in the Trump administration. I love President Trump, who is a fearless American hero, and continue to support him 100%. So I have no further comment. So it sounds like he probably is in total agreement with the alt-right and the extremists. I'm getting that from the tone of his voice and through this. So Beatty, who holds a doctorate from Duke University, was one of the rare academics on the White House staff. And so in that 2016, he went public with his support for Donald Trump and cited Trump's hardline immigration position as one of the key reasons for his victory. So one of the signals for me is when Trump made his provocative remarks on immigration and then refused to apologize in wake of the overwhelming corporate and the media opposition. So Beatty told the Chronicle, a newspaper at Duke. And so Beatty wrote his doctoral thesis on Martin Heidegger, who was a member of the Nazi Party. Here we go, the Nazi Party Germany. So Beatty has called Heidegger's Nazis affiliation highly troublesome, but maintain that his work is worthy of scholarly attention, according to a report by Forward magazine. So, in other words, what he's saying is he said that he wasn't in total agreement with this, whoever this guy had garned, who was Nazi affiliated, his Nazi party in Germany affiliated with them. He said it was highly troublesome, but he then turns around and he kind of gives him, how would you say, praise on his skills for his scholarly, what you call, he's worthy of his scholarly attention. So I guess, I don't know if this guy was a writer or whatnot or whatever, says his work is worthy of scholarly attention. So it's depending on who he is. So it's like saying, for example, you have, you know, the murderer, thinking of his name. He's, you know, he killed in the Hollywood Hills, and Charles Manson, and you have these people who they are kind of, they look at him like he's some kind of god or he's some kind of star, and he's done this horrible crime, yet you still have people praising him for the things they think that they're excited about him. They did have people that were doing that, but it's sort of like the same concept. But this guy here, he was fired because he actually did a speech at this extremist meeting. Even if he's not 100% in agreement with it, he did the speech there. So there's something he agrees with. Some of it he agrees with. Even if it's just a smidgen of it, he might as well be part of it. He may not be as active and outspoken as some of the other white nationalists, as there are people like that. They have similar ideologies and they agree with their ideals, but they may not be the ones that you'll see marching necessarily. Maybe they will be marching, but they won't actually create physical violence. I would like to say that there are different levels of racist people, you know, some that are a little bit more extreme than others, and some who are milder, where they're not out to shoot you and kill you and maim you, but they can get you fired from your job, or they can rat you out, or they can make it look like you did something wrong when you didn't in fact do anything wrong, or they can make your work working alongside of them miserable. If you live in the neighborhood, they can make living next to them maybe a challenge to living around them. Because first of all, they don't want you in the neighborhood, so they try to move. You know, people like that will try to move away from people that they feel are gonna, in their minds, are gonna, you know, change their whole demographics of their neighborhood and environment and what they're used to being around. They're only used to being around people that only look like who they are or believe what they assume believe the same ideas. But this person here, the reason I picked this article, and I'm saying this, is because look at the position that he has. You see, he's a speechwriter. He can say things. He has a skill of writing. He has a skill from an accredited, high-profile university, and he can write certain things that can make you or break you. And so this is what I've been saying before. I'm coming at this in a more academia approach. These people who are racist, not all of them are the ones that you see that are out there creating the violence and physically, you know, harming people. These are the people, these type of racist people are extremist people, are the ones who do the most damage in terms of law. They can make changes that can impact thousands, thousands of people. They can, you know, help implement certain things that can really like ruin people's lives, the quality of people's lives. They can be just as dangerous only with a pen and paper. And so this is the kind of stuff that people don't realize. Just because a person is not holding a gun to your head and they're not, physically doing any damage, they are doing damage, but they're doing it in a different way. And so a lot of these people will go to these universities and they already know what they're going for. They always pick jobs where they can actually stretch the law or they can change a lot of things. And so they'll go to these universities or they'll get in these jobs of position and power to hurt a lot of people that ultimately they never had any good intentions for. They don't like you because you're Black, or they hate you because you're Black, or they're a racist, they're an extremist, they're part of these white nationalist groups. They can be just as dangerous, but in a different way with pen and paper. We see it. We see it happening every day. At the stroke of a pen, there's a new law. And it says that you must leave and you only have a few months to stay in the US because whatever, blah, 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 blah. At the stroke of a pen and paper, it's written in the law that the police can, do these different things to civilians, but it usually applies to poor people or to Black people, people of color. At the stroke of a pen and paper, there are health care programs that are cut, housing situations that are, in trouble, and they're being affected. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the person is always the white one doing it. Sometimes they have Black people in this circle. And I feel like this is the new thing that they've been doing is if they can't do it themselves, they'll put a Black person in a position of being the bad guy. And then he'll further carry out the duties of what the white supremacist ideologies are. And it can be just as damaging. He can write in law or help make changes to coincide with the boss. Oh yeah, we're gonna cut housing funding, or yeah, oh we're not going to worry about discriminative, this and that. We're gonna cut that out. We're not even gonna fund that program anymore. We're just gonna have it the way it used to be. So these are people that I think people often overlook because they appear to look nice, or they are in a suit and tie, or they look scholarly, or they come from a nice university and they don't look like they're violent. And maybe they aren't violent, but their mind and what they want to do to people and what they do when they get in these positions of power speaks volumes of how dangerous they can be to the general population. And so you have to look at these people that are in these offices that can do just as much damage as somebody that's on the street that's holding a billy club, or he's got sticks, or he's walking down the street with tiki torches. And, they're not the brightest people and they might be vicious and vile, but you have the same energy flowing through the veins of these individuals that go to these really prestigious universities and they work hard to get that, certificate or that paper so that they can get into these positions and hold these seats so that they can make many people's lives a living hell. That's their sole purpose. They're just as dangerous people. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes your white supremacist may not have a hood, a white hood on and a sheet. They could be in suit and tie. They could be sitting behind a desk, and they can be writing some important, pertinent information out that can ruin many, many lives, make people's lives a living hell. It can make or break people. They just so happen to fire him only because it says the scrutiny of an appearance with white nationalists. Think about that. So if he didn't appear with the white nationalists, he would have still had his job. And just think of what could have happened. What other people are up in there? I know some people can like just list out names that can do just as much damage to many, many people. Because they're popular, they have a lot of money, they have a way with words, and they've got a high seat that they sit in. And they may not be carrying a tiki torch, they may not be popping you upside the head, sending dogs on you, but they are dangerous. They're so dangerous that they can make a lot of people suffer for many, many years based on their extremist ideals and ideologies of being a racist. And they have the power to do so. And you have it so that they're so convincing that they'll even convince people who are on the oppressed side that if I just give you this position and you just follow what I say, you'll be fine. But those other people out there, just do what I tell you to do, and I'll pay you handsomely. And so they hire people that are people they really don't like. And if you play your cards right, they'll pay you the money to say and do all the bad things they want you to do, as long as you play your cards right, as long as you keep quiet about it. Don't appear with anybody or don't say anything. But as soon as these people get caught or they get fired, what happens? They turn on that person. They say all this stuff about who they really are, which we've already known. Or you find out what you already probably assumed to know, is that these people have some ties with white nationalists. It's not a biggie. It's not a big surprise. He just got scrutiny for an appearance with one. Just think about it. If he wasn't in a picture or he didn't appear with anybody from this group, we would have still been looking at the same person working that same position. There are others out there. He's not the only one. Thanks for listening.